Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is another exploring one, and I think this is going to be like a mega one because the last one at Morales Castle was like really short. But this time it's going to be more touristy because we are going to St Fagans National Living Museum of Wales. So obviously there's a lot of buildings there. You can see there's actually exhibits there, like it's got exhibits through Welsh history. It's got the Aberfan exhibit, and now it's got a new exhibit which I'm looking forward to, is the history of Welsh football. So this is going to be a long one, so stay tuned guys. But first, while we travel, let's find out a little bit of history of the St Fagans National Museum of Wales. St Fagans Museum was founded in 1946 after the Earl of Plymouth donated St Fagans Castle to the National Museum of Wales. The doors officially opened to the public in 1948. The Living Museum side of it was the brainchild of Iron PIGSTY, which was based on Skansen in Sweden, where it contains buildings from many eras. To this day, St Fagans is expanding, with the Vulcan pub being added, which is the most recent addition. It sees over 600,000 visitors a year before the COVID restrictions were in place, and is expected to double in years to come. So now let's start our little walk around St Fagans. We'll see ahead is the Red House, which is probably the most famous house in Wales, and that's not even an exaggeration because everyone just comes to St Fagans for this mainly, I think. But this part here is a milestone, they call them. That's where you get the expression from. Every milestone will centre to London in Britain, because obviously the capital of the British Empire at the time. The nearest city, which is Bridgend, which now is a town, and the nearest village of Pyle. So this is the Bridgend district one, so you'll see one with Cardiff, will probably say Canton on it, and then Cardiff city centre. So let's go ahead straight to the Red House. Here we are outside the Kennigston farmhouse, or famously the Red House. We can't enter this way, so we're just going to have a look at this white barn, which looked like it was red. I remember it being red. Mostly this would have been the wood store, which they would have used to light their fires in their house to keep them warm, to mix coal. And then we'll go to this barn, which is quite clearly an animal store because how big it is. Then we go around by it, there's another barn which is the cow one. So now we're just going to go around the front and enter the farmhouse. See, a very old fashioned house, very small because people were shorter then, but in this place I think I've got a duck quite a few times. So let's have a little explore in here then. Go into this room by here. Hello. It's an old school kitchen. And this part is where they would live. This would be the standard dining table at the time with wooden benches. That technically is a sofa bed, believe it or not. A wooden stool sofa, and then inside is a bed, and you just light in there, as you can see. And then there's your standard fire. This looks like a more formal eating area, looks more closer to the time. It looks like a little study desk there, cabinet shelving, wherever that is. and a sideboard and a fire. It's not much to see, but we can head upstairs now. Yeah, this is one of the bedrooms. You can see the way the roof is weaved. This is like a bower, because farmhouses used to have like straw roofs and they had to weave them to stop the water falling in. A nice big chest of drawers and a wooden bed. But now, while ducking, this is more like an attic bedroom. Very big. It looks like there's another room down there where another bedroom would be, or you see where the straw is kept to repair the roof. It's almost like a grand bed by here and a little bed. The family grew too big, so there's another bed and a cot. So that's the most famous house in Wales, I think. The Kennington farmhouse. And now we're just going to be going down this pathway to the mill, which is literally just straight over there. And then the village square and so on and so forth. So it is a lot to see here, a lot to get through. But yeah, one of the biggest attractions in Big Pit is this. Fagans. So is another thing we want to see. It's almost like a little hut. On the way to the mill, this is a PIGSTY. This is located near Pontypridd. This is what an old school pigsty would look like. Better than what they get today, I'm not gonna lie. But now we're just gonna continue our walk down here to the mill, which is directly in front of us. Now we're at the Melyn Brompen corn mill, which has got a water wheel on the other side. This is where corn would be made, or like made into food, so it's made more edible. But the miller is not here, so we can't really go into the main part of the mill. But if we go down this ramp, there is a feature. It's not working at the moment, but it is a water wheel. You can actually come into this, which is a little bit of a storage, possibly a blast furnace, a mini blast furnace by here, which would help power the mill with the water, maybe burn the corn to make it more synthetic towards food. That is a big bucket of coal, so possibly this may have been a blast furnace. And this is the water wheel. It's not moving because I think it needs to naturally rain for it to move, and the miller needs to be in to control it. But on the side of this impressive stone building, it's probably as big as a house. There's just a water wheel attached to it. This is the main way like food is made before for factory production as the Victorian era came into full swing in the big cities. People wouldn't even eat factory food when they first came around because they just thought it was going to kill them, which technically it can if you eat too much of the bad food. So mills and farmers would create this corn from harvests. So this was more of a risk because all it takes is a bad harvest and this mill wouldn't have operated. So yeah, that's how tough food production was until the Victorian era. But now we're going to walk through the trees and up towards the Iron Age Roundhouse. Here we are at the Iron Age Roundhouses now. They were dated back in Anglesey. A couple of things I want to show you before we go into it. It looks like a chicken coop. An old school straw and wooden built chicken coop. Thing with you can always smell burning. And potentially, while hunting, this could be what they hanged the corpses of the animals they hunted off. So these are two joined up roundhouses. You can see, we'll go around the back by here before we go into them. to show you that they were joined up this way. So technically each house is a different room. We are going to have a look at it now, and to show you, this is an Iron Age Roundhouse. Look how low the walls are compared to the ceilings. Right, I can't film in the other room because there is a school in there, which is fair enough. But you can get a rough idea. It's very smoky in here from the fire in the next room. But this could have been the workshop. A mini blast furnace there. There's pottery. Stoves. They would have cooked food over a wooden stick just hanging over a fire. So if this gives you the rough idea of what it is like in here. You can see in the little gap there that the fire is there. If we get a chance, we will have a look at it very, very shortly. Here we are. This is the main bit of the roundhouse. You see, I just want to show you this quickly. Even then, they would have painted onto the walls to give it a little bit of decoration. So, how far home decor has come. Some natural seating by here, but this is where the fire would be. That chain over there would be where the cauldron is. We'll look at the sword and some benches, stone, hunted animals, tusked horns, and a bed where they would sleep. By here is some weaponry, spears and shields. So now we are walking down towards the medieval Prince's Court. Obviously during the medieval times we did have like one ruler of the whole of England and Wales. But princes would settle in palaces or castles built for them. Hence all England do was the Prince of Wales, then he become a revolutionary Prince of Wales. So now we're going down to one which was based in Anglesey, and what is left of it is a pantry and the grand hall where they would feast on mutton and all these medieval foods, which is actually put down onto the mat where you can see what type of stuff they would eat. And I'm going to say the medieval people were quite colourful in decoration, so this is going to be a big shock when you look at it. Here we are now approaching the medieval Prince's Court. Instantly is another one, it's like a straw and a hay roof. But now, it's going to be big differences. We're going to look into the pantry first, and then into the actual, like, banquet hall, they would call it. This is what would be the pantry, the kitchen. So you can look by here on the table, there's a hog. And on the walls there are birds which we will catch, like ducks, geese, whatsoever. So now we're going to zoom out and have a look at the building as a whole, which is your very conventional house pantry for the time in the court, and then this is the large banquet hall. Here we are in the large banquet hall. Talk about colours, very colourful people. This is the lower hall, they will call it, where everyone to provide food or labour for the prince these days sometimes refers silver coins was sat here. There are nice colourful curtains to split the two tables up, hence the main colour is very white, red and green. Over to this table now, which is part of the lower hall. It's what people would drink with, cups and saucers. This is what it would be in here. So we go up to this one now, which is the upper hall. Llewellyn's table, is hence the tapestry by here, behind him. This would be a drink saucer, which we would probably put a mead in to drink. Drinking from tusks, horns, whatsoever, the grandest things, have the best cutlery on the table. So that's this table. Ultimately the same again in the upper hall. They'll have nice beakers made from special drinking cups, apparatuses, tapestry and whatsoever. And at the end of this, I think this is where Llewellyn would sat. That looks like more like a prayer bed where they put their elbows on in prayer. This would have been his house's insignia, and by here would be his bench. So now let's have a look at the hall from this way, the way he would have looked at it at the time. Just imagine all these being full of people whatsoever. And again, the support work and the roof is straw. While leaving the Prince's Court, I just think I'll show you this. Proved that it was a castle. This was all inside, so it would possibly have a keep. So I'm going to have a look for a picture for it. If you do see it, it's going to be on the corner of the screen. So just to show you this if I can't. Now we're going to be headed down this way towards the village square, the Vulcan pub, which is currently being rebuilt, and Oakdale Workmen's Hall. So now we are slowly approaching the tannery. Obviously there's a bit on the side I'm going to show you first, because that also had a water wheel, because part of the tannery has actually got water underneath it. So I'm going to show you that very quickly before we go into the main bit, the Workmen's Hall and the village square, before we start rounding it off as something quite spectacular. Just like the corn mill, this would have been for the tannery. If you don't know what a tannery is a place where leather is made from horse skin. A lot of the machines here would have been water powered. So there would be a water supply going through here, and this would have carried the water through and through to conduct the machinery. This was obviously weirdly the precursor to electricity. So now we're going to walk around the side of this building and enter the tannery. And this is the tannery. So we're going to come to this sign by here, because it shows you some of the critters that used to live in this tannery in the waters. But as you can see, said part of this tannery had pools of water by here, which would have been used to probably place all the skin within to help it turn into leather. If I'm correct, I will put it on the screen if I am incorrect and put the right facts down. But yeah, this is one of the pools. It is a large one with wooden beams sit across in it, to show you what it was like and how it was made. See, the parts of the tannery you can't go into, it's closed off, but you can go underneath it. So we are going to have a quick look through that now. This is where the bark would have been kept. So obviously the bark is where you can see on the, which is covering some of the pools, is hence the bark store. And by here it's the handler's pit. And it says, hides were moved from one pit to another. The tannic liquids of increasing strength or over about 18 months. So this is where the leather would be left to proof pretty much and made from the skin into solid leather. Because people used to value leather a lot more than what we do now. So we're going to go back around the other side and have a look at the other side of the tannery, because there's more exhibits and what it looks like, an old picture. Well, this looks like so where they used to store all the leather after it's been proofed. And yet I'll pop the camera in to have a look. As you can see, there's a table over there with leather. But now we're going to stand up and have a look at the other part of these holes. The tannery turned animal skin into leather by soaking them in tannic liquid made of oak bark and water. So you can see in that picture by here, if I zoom in very, very slowly, It's workers at this exact tannery before it was moved to the St. Fagans. And it does say by here when I turn my camera, it was a foul and smelly, greasy work with strong odours from animal flesh and horrible liquids. So you can imagine this is not a pleasant job to do, and probably stinks when you go home, sticks to your clothes. But the way to make strong materials for clothing was this way. And it looks like you may now not have leather sofas if these tanneries didn't exist. Just a quick stop off by the side tannery. This is a kiln. This is where they would like cook limestone to make powder whatsoever. Here, if you do recognise lime kilns you've seen in the Blind Avon Ironworks video and the COCKPIT lime kilns. So this is another example of what a certain kiln would have looked like. It's going to go around the side of it to see what it would look like inside. There you go. So I'm going to have a lunch break now before we carry on to what's behind me is the Vulcan and the Working Men's Hall. So we have more to see. So I'll see you in a bit. Right, behind me is the Vulcan, which is currently being built, so we can't go in it quite yet. We might come back and have a look at it, but we are going into here, the Oakdale Working Men's Home, or Workmen's Hall, sorry, which is located near where I live, in the Blackwood area. This is in the COCKPIT County Borough, and this is what an old school workman's hall would look like. So here we are, this is something to see. Let's have a look into this first room now. This would have been the chairman's office or the treasury. See, zoom into the desk, an old dial-up phone. I've got his record books, an old school safe with his filing cabinet, and this would be in the committee room. So you can see where they would host their meetings, talking about agendas, what events is coming up in this place, and colliery related business. So let's go out and have a look at the rest of the rooms. This is the library. There's not really much you can say about a library, but let's take a look at it. On to another room I'm going to show you upstairs, because you're greeted with this stained glass, but there is a large function room up here with something to see. There's a video about the dismantling job of how this has moved from Blackwood to the big pit, sorry, St. Fagans. But look at this room. Events would happen in this room. Concerts, dances, weddings, whatsoever. It's got its own piano by here. And behind you is the stage. This is some of the people who was part of this workman's hall in 1995. There is also more names around here, but you can just imagine all the stuff that used to go on by here. If there is a plaque by here in memory of Islam Williams, the wood carver of the Seven Sisters, St. Fagans. So yeah, this is some room. this actual hall is to hire. You can actually hire this for weddings, along with St. Fagans Castle. So you can imagine this is a more the larger hall. So if you want a larger wedding, this is more likely. It can possibly can be converted into a wedding party. So this is basically a bit of history. Also, round by here, there's a balcony. So this is what old mining institutes used to be like. Hearts of the community, but there's still one room we need to look at, which is the reading room, which will show you what the games rooms would be at this time for these working men. Here we are. This is the village square. So you've got the supply shop, which you normally see is like your little corner shop now. You've got the ironmongerers, which you can just get all your, well, technically not an ironmongerers anymore, or the sweet shop. So let's have a look at some of the windows of these shops. The sort of stuff you can get. This is all mainly seen as like a distillery now. It sells gins, rums, chutney, more cooking and drinking based stuff, beers, penderyn. You can go over now to the supply shop, which has got more old school stuff by here, like meat grinders, old school pots and pans, jars, looks like old what tins of food would look like, lamps, a Davy lamp, and a plunger. While this side will show you possibly what wartime food would look like. So tomato soup, coca. While now we're approaching what an old school sweet shop will look like. Today is closed. This is what a tuck shop jar hard candy would be looking like. So we go on up by here to have a look what else is in here. This by here looks like a bandstand, but it's actually a cockpit. So in here would have been where cockfighting would have occurred, because this was actually an entertaining pastime. So I'm going to try and find a way into here and explain what would technically happen during a cockfight. So now I'm in a cockpit, and this is just actually insane to look at, because this used to be a pastime in very, very long time ago. I think it's an illegal practice now. So it's more of an underground thing. But let's just have a look here, because it's got like pens, if you can see by here. Let's have a proper look at it. Where I'm standing now, you can imagine this place used to be packed full of people, like beyond the rafters, probably people trying to get into the door. Two men would stand right in front of the ring by here, and they would place two cocks in it. And there would be a man going around taking bets on which cock will win this fight. Cockerels, the thing is with them, they do hate each other. So they would wait until one of the cock would be torn apart by the other, declared the winner, and the money would be shared out between the people who betted on these cocks. And I can't believe the amount of times I said cocks in a section of a video. So we're just going to have a look at the ring a bit closer up. This is the cock ring. And if one jumps out, it will be a person from the front row by here would pick it up, put it back in to let the fight carry on. It was a very, very stupid game looking back at it now, but it wasn't really much of a pastime then. So now, let's just have a look at another part of the village square. Welcome to the Blindburn Post Office. An old school post office There's a letterbox, you see. A lot of different things you notice with letterboxes. GR, George Regina. So that would be the King George. Tell this is from during the Second World War. There's the Air War inside, if you have a look in. You can see this is what an old school post office would look like. Topped off was a public telephone. The iconic red phone boxes. Every village from the time needed a tailor shop. So this is one that is actually still in use today. You can still buy from the shop, I believe. This is what an old school tailors would look like. And by here is the Torg bread shop, which again is still in use. I think it's open now. But yeah, this is one part here. Now you are looking at the toll house from Aberystwyth South. So basically, to get into these villages, you tend to have to pay tolls. This is when it's back into the horse-drawn days, so we can have a look at the toll rates. Well, it's very, very hard to read. Every horse or other beast drawn by any coach chariot is, oh God, I don't know all currency. But it got ass written on it, hence donkey. This is the only way you would be able to find yourself allowed into these villages, towns, cities via toll. So we're gonna go around to the other side to have a look at it. And this is what it looks like inside these toll houses. Almost like living quarters. Could be used as halfway houses. But yeah, you gotta register yourself of entering into the city with horse-drawn carriages. So let's move on to another part of the park. Hop off the village square now. You can't beat a school. The one thing that we all absolutely hated is a school. So yeah, let's carry on. This is the school. A very old school. But we're going to have a look. See, if you've noticed, the yard looks divided. Because boys would play on the one side and girls would play on the other. So let's have a quick look in here. This bio to make sure the students were presentable or they would possibly be caned for looking a bit scruffy. This is where they would hook their coats and whatever bags they have. So let's have a look. Is it small? Oh, yeah. We're just gonna walk over to the castle, where the video will end. This is the reason why this is here, the castle. While we walk over there, this is a little brief history of St. Fagans Castle. St. Fagans Castle is located on the site of a former medieval castle. By 1536, it was laying in ruins and the land was put up for sale and was sold to Dr. John Gibbon, who started building what we know as the current St. Fagans Castle. He made many renovations, but Sir Edward Lewis of the Van Caerphilly made further renovations which still remain to this day. In 1850, more renovations were made, which is also visible in the current layout of the castle. In World War I, while Britain was fighting on the Western Front in France and in Flanders, the castle was temporarily converted into a hospital for soldiers who were severely wounded and were returning home from the battlefield. The main banquet hall had 40 beds, while other parts of the house contained many more. Following the Second World War, the castle was donated by the Earl of Plymouth to the National Museum of Wales, which still remains in its ownership. Here we are, this is the Castle Gardens of St Fagans, but we're going to have a more in-depth look at this in a minute, and the castle up there up the hill, because at first is another like mill and a little bit of a boating lake I want to show you. But this is the lake outside the castle. See, it's very different to where you can see like other lakes being, because that's very high in water level, that's very low, so almost like dam structured. If you can see ahead, just look how beautiful it looks right here. We'll get over to that side very soon. Right, now I am approaching this very, very interesting looking, looks like a barn or a mill. So when I get to the other side, I can tell you what it is. This is a crop storage barn, and it has been built into 3 sections over 3 different time periods, almost keeping the decoration. Hence, one's a section, I guess, NASA section, NASA section. So let's have a look into it a little bit more. This is located in Penley near Wrexham. You can see the walls are almost weaved. Have a look in there. I think they might use it for their own storage, but let's zoom out and have a look. It's quite impressive how they weave the wood to make these walls. It's a little gangway I walk through to get when I'm going up the hill. Hence this may be in a section itself, or a divider. But yeah, this is a quite of a interesting section itself. Hence now we're gonna go down there to the boating lake. Not quite like a horror-esque look to where this thing has when you're looking back behind it. Sort of thing you would like to see in the dark. But now we're gonna go down here. There's like a little boating area. So we'll just have a quick look at that. Then we head straight to St Fagans Castle. There is another mill, which is the Exile Mill, which is a water mill built in Llantret, Wales, if I'm saying that correctly. But this is more like, it almost looks like a house. It's got 2 floors, with the entrance being the upper floor. So we're just gonna walk towards there. I don't think it's open. No, it's not. It has got a weaver in this mill. But if I step back, I can have a bit more of a look of it. So next up is the boating lake. We're just gonna show you quickly. This is a perfect way to loop around to the castle, like I said. And there's not really much, but I think on alone this is quite nice. It used to be part of the castle. Here is the small boating lake on the side of St Fagans Castle. This is where many of the people in the castle lived, would have done as a pastime. Whether it be, I don't really know you can do much boating on here because it's very shallow, but they did used to fish here, and there's a fishing exhibition by there, and this would be more for pastime fishing. They do have little scoreboards by there though, so they might have done some rowing in here or swimming, maybe. But here is the lake, natural water and the algae on top of it. But we have got like a boat barn straight ahead of us. We're just going to have a look at. And obviously here by here you can see where they used to store the pleasure boats, little rowing boats. It's a bit rotted away, this one is, in fairness, but we'll have a quick look by here. Some of the rowing equipment by there, and this one looks better preserved. and some little details. So let's have a quick look at this lake from this angle before we head towards the castle parks. Approaching the castle, we'll just go down and have a look at this garden bit by here, straight ahead there. Then we'll go through the castle this way. Here is the little garden path overlooking the lakes here at St Fagans Castle. There's the wooden arching down there, and this is just a nice view to have a look at what the people living at this castle would have saw. Hence up the hill is more gardens, but we are finding our way here into the castle. So we're going to go up to the main steps now, as you can see by there, hence into the grounds. These are like little wooden arches. Something so simple, but something so nice. It adds a little bit of a, like a fairy tale look to it, I feel, for this castle. Especially with the weeds grown into it. You've got the lake by here through every hoop, and this leads to one of the steps going up to the castle. So I feel this is a nice way to walk up there, because there was a bit of a change of a plan and we went down here instead, so I think it's worth showing you. So here we are at the back of St Fagans Castle. This bit alone just shows how nice the castle looks, like the old-fashioned stonework, the steps with the stars and crosses on them. This was more of a residential castle than a fortress, because I can see that there was no strategic point for battle here. Hence it's still built on the hill to be the attraction of the village of St Fagans. So let's go up these steps and have a look. So this is another part of the castle gardens. Little statues by here. So there's no life in these gardens. There is a little like water feature is turned off, but we'll have a look at that as well now, because there's no life due to the winter months we're filming in. But it's still pretty, because you can see what it would look like with all the flowers blooming. Let's go ahead and have a look at this water feature, then we'll have a look at another part of this gardens. See the detail, the deco here. The Earl of Plymouth family who owned this had a taste, you can see. And there we are, if I turn the camera by here, you can see the back of the castle, on the side of the castle. I'll zoom out. And the detail on the chimneys kind of gives a Victorian vibe to it. So, the Plymouth family owned this castle, and they've done loads of renovations over time. Like I said in my history, this had connotations of the Van Mansion in Caerphilly, which is in the corner of the screen now. And you can see similarities in the renovations made to this castle and Van Mansion. So let's have a wander around, then go into the castle. This is now the main path leading to the castle. Obviously he's got his walls, his main gate. That's behind us. So now we're going to walk down the path to have a look at this castle. So we are greeted by this, looks like a spectacular fountain. And look at that, to be greeted with walking through this little archway. And when I say Van Mansion in Caerphilly, this has got his lookalikes to a modern manor castle. So have a look at this little water feature quickly, then we will enter into the castle. It's got the Plymouth House insignia on there. But yeah, let's have a look at this. It's just incredible to look at. This is actually another place you can get married to in St Fagans, and to be honest, I don't blame you if you do want to get married here. This is insane. Look at it. And this is just the start. Let's go into it and explore St Fagans Castle for what it is, and see all this deco work they have for you. Looks like a picture of Queen Elizabeth I. Every household tend to, only until like the end of the First World War, had paintings of the monarch in their house. Here's your decorative crockery shelf. And this is possibly like my favourite room, I would say. This is the music room. Hence you have a big xylophone record player, a gold piano, a gold harp, and this, what seems like this incredible painting that's left here. This tapestry. A seating area where it looks like a fire would burn, and a weaver was there. Got look like a games table which got chess, blackjack on it, and again a very, very large table. So many rooms open in this castle at the moment, but this is the sort of room you want to see when you come in here. This music room. The detailing on the ceiling as well is just something quite incredible. But I am going to come over to show you the detailing on the fireplace as well. Well, this area isn't open to the public at the moment as it looks like they are cleaning it. But this is the grand staircase to the in the castle, and the hallway was a quite beautiful grandfather clock, I'm not gonna lie. So that's it, in the exploration of St. Fagans. It's a very big one, but it's a very interesting one, seeing a living museum in fully functioning form. And obviously it's not fully functioning, there's a lot of closures, a lot of repairs being made because there is the winter months. But I thought it'd be worth showing you. So, did enjoy the video, guys, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. I'm going to just announce the next video for you now. It is going to be an exploring video slash kind of bit like a mini documentary at the same time about Aberfan. So keep your eyes peeled, it'll be coming in a week or so. I will be filming it the same week as this video. So if you are interested, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on for that video and future videos. Like this video to help it in the algorithm for more people to see this wonderful place. And until next time, guys, see you then.